So we have a 10% limit of our funds at all stages. So let's take the second stage. We give, the client has $2,000 of their funds, we give them an account of $20,000. Immediately we have a stop loss at 10% of the $20,000. If the trader hits that 10% stop loss, they go to a stage called quarantine.
This is Henry Washington, and you're listening to the Average Joe Finances Podcast.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Today, we interviewed Greg Rubin, and we got to learn about his company called Axi Select. Very interesting stuff. I want to start this off with a disclaimer and let all my listeners know, or especially all my US-based listeners know, that this is not available in the US because we have very strict trading regulations on what we can and cannot have. So this is one of those things that you have to be outside of the United States to participate in. So for my non-US listeners, this is going to be a great episode for you to check out. The entire time that Greg's talking with me, he really opened up my eyes on a couple things that this program offers. Very little downside, in my opinion. So definitely check it out. This might be something you might be very interested in. But again, this is for my non-US listeners. All right. Aloha, everybody. Let's get to today's episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you smash the like and subscribe buttons. If you're listening to our podcast, go leave us a 5-star review. All of our links can be found in the video description or show notes below. Hey, welcome back to the Average Joe Finances Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Cavagioni, and today's guest is Greg Rubin. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. Greg, I want to kick this off the same way I start every podcast episode. Could you share a little bit about yourself, share your story? Who is Greg Rubin?
Sure. I'll start from the beginning. I'm a trader, analyst, but more so a market professional. I live and breathe the financial market. It's been a passion of mine since I started my career in 2007. And my career has taken a full circle. I started out as a prop trader in 2007, and I'm currently head of Axi Select, which is running a capital allocation program. It gets more commonly referred to these days as a prop firm. So a prop program, I won't quite call us a prop firm, we're certainly not. We've got a very unique model that's different, but ultimately the landscape that's changed between 2007 and where we're at now. So starting at the beginning, I got thrown in at the deep end, started out just before the Lehman Brothers crash came and the start of the financial crisis in 2008. I'm South African. I started out in Cape Town with a company whose head office was in London on the premise that I was good at my job. I would get transferred. In 2009, I actually got transferred to the London office. And that's where I started my career, essentially from trading. I was 24 years old at the time, but it was a very steep learning curve. I moved over subsequently to the sell side and dealing with equities and then commodities. And for me, the big breakthrough in my career was in 2011, where I started out as senior account manager, ended up as head of trading for a commodities firm. But it was there where I learned Elliott wave theory and Fibonacci and my sort of trading style with regards to risk management, the trading psychology side, where everything started to come together for me. That was when my trading journey really took the move in the right direction. Subsequently, in 2020, I moved to Australia, to Sydney, and I was head of trading for a brokerage firm there. At the same time, I was also running a trading room. I was teaching traders to trade according to my strategy. I spent a lot of time on the trading psychology side, and really great to see traders from absolute beginners become profitable and learn the important steps in trading. And then I moved to Axi, where I currently am as head of Axi Select with a very exciting project. We launched last September a revolutionary capital allocation program. It's combining our size as a broker into the fast-paced prop firm industry, where we essentially offer traders up to $1 million of our funds to trade, and we don't charge any registration fee. So it's free to participate in the Axi Select program, and ultimately, the better trader you are, the more capital we will provide to you, the potential and the growth that we have seen with that so far.
Yeah, Greg, that's really interesting. So just going through your entire background, I was sitting here taking some notes as you were going.
Yeah.
A lot of evolution since 2007 from when you first became a prop trader. In 2011, that's when you got your first head of trading gig, focusing on risk management, and then moving to Sydney in 2020 to do that again, and then finding Axi Select last year. What I'm curious about with...
Sorry, not to interrupt you. Apologies, don't interrupt you there.
Sure.
But actually, it took us a year to rebrand this program as well. So it's been 2 years, but it's the 1 year since the program's been live.
So you were working on it for a little bit of time then before you launched. What kind of service does Axi provide? Is it that you provide capital for people to invest? The amount that you give just depends on how good they are? Is that what we were talking about? I want to make sure I heard that right.
Yeah, so indirectly. So what we've seen a lot of in the prop firm space, it's the standard model structure in this industry is to charge a registration fee, and then for traders to ultimately have to do hoops to try past that, and then they get access to, once they get funded, they get access to funds. So we've scrapped that process, and instead of offering a speculative approach or selling dreams with the potential of accessing money, we take it the other way and say, we're not going to charge you any money. We don't want to claim clients' registration fees. We want to say, here is an opportunity. We also have a score which judges your trading performance. But ultimately, the more you prove yourself as a trader, the more of our funds that we are happily to give you. So we ultimately back traders as opposed to tell them what to invest in. We say, we assessing your performance, and ultimately we have a structured program where we're happy to give money as you prove yourself to go on your own journey to trade as you please.
Can you talk a little bit about that program? How does that work to help traders just...
So there are quite a few things. If you look at it from a structure perspective, all we do is we set up an account with our funds that trades alongside the trader's account. So if a trader puts in at the first stage $500, we set up an account with $5,000 of our funds in. And every time the trader places a trade, we place the same trade, and clients are able to share in the profits. If the trader puts in $4,000, we'll put in $1 million of our funds, and the trader can take 90% of that profit at the end of the month. So in the first sense, it addresses the biggest issue retail traders have, is most are undercapitalized. And when you're undercapitalized, you tend to trade too big a size, you tend to take on too much leverage, and ultimately you blow up accounts because you want to make big, large money too quickly. One of our key differentiators, something we really pride ourselves with Axi Select, is we are not just a funding program. We have a trading room with professional traders in there where you can have direct communication with these traders. You can share the analysis. So you have that community and to learn and interact with professional traders. It's split into different subcomponents, and it tells you whether your score, whether your risk score, your experience, or your skill, or your consistency, which part you're lacking, what part you can improve. So it's there to actually help you. We have a dashboard where you can see your statistics. So it sounds a bit cliched where I say it's built by a trader for traders. We've generally thought of what do traders need? What can we do? Trading's difficult. And I make no bones about it. Not everyone, if it was easy, we'd all be millionaires, right? Trading is difficult,
everyone would be doing
game.
it.
And this is what we don't shy away from. We tell you trading's hard. You have to be a very good trader to access the top amount of our funds. But what can we do to help you? We can't make money for you, but we can do our best to provide you with the tools to give you a fair opportunity. And that's what we pride ourselves in.
Yeah, so you've got that education piece covered. You've got the mentorship and coaching piece covered. Some of the key elements somebody would need to be successful in anything. You need mentorship and guidance. You need education. You need to network with the right people. And then you need to take action. Those are all very important pieces of being successful in anything. So Axi Select has that all built into it on the back end. Somebody creates an account on there. One, they're taking less risk with the money that they're putting into it. And two, the better they get and the more they prove themselves, the more access to capital that they'll have for future trades. Yeah, I think that's really interesting, man. It's really interesting and a great system from what I'm hearing so far. I like it.
The one thing we also do is we're always listening to our clients. So we are working on a few other things. One, happy to give you a sneak preview, is a journal. We're looking to try and do an internal journal, which is so important to trading. We can get that automated and built to the system. It's something that we are certainly considering amongst other various tools. So we're always looking to improve our product, always looking to find ways to provide more completeness on things that will help traders, not gimmicky tools. We want to find what do traders need, and that's what we're looking to keep doing from a product side.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said before, this was a product that was created by a trader for traders, right? But it makes me wonder, so I was saying, what would you say are the benefits to somebody using a program like this versus just trading on their own?
So when you're comparing the prop firm, I've got to keep AxiSelect separate to the prop firm industry, because the prop firm industry, you pay a registration fee. So there are pros to it from a speculative side where you can get higher capital, but there's obviously risk where you can lose your funds. If you're trading, and this is, again, one of the model, how we set up, if you're trading at another broker and you're trading solo versus Axi Select, and what I mean by that is Axi Select is literally you doing the same thing. You're trading like you would trade solo at a broker, but at the same time, you get an account with our funds in which you can share in the profits. You get the trading room, you get the dashboard, you get the edge score, and you don't pay 1 penny for it. It's completely free.
To me, like more profits, right? Because not only going to get your return, but you're also getting a share of the profits from doing it on Axi Select.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying trading solo, There's no benefit. There's every benefit to Axi Select. This is exactly what we've created, which is why I believe it's revolutionizing the broker space, because we're saying do exactly what you are doing. Do not change anything, but get an account with our funds and a score and a trading room without paying any money for it. I don't see any downside in that sense. Perhaps other brokers have better execution. Perhaps they have better pricing. I don't know. Axi's pretty good. But I don't see any benefit if I'm not using Axi Select if you're trading at another broker.
Yeah. What happens when you have a trader that's not doing so well and they're losing money, right? The trades that they make have not been that great. And it's just, they started off at $5,000 and now they're sitting at $3,000, right?
So again, we've created that into our program. We know that you're going to have a bad day, a bad week, a bad month. You're going to go through a bad period, because that's what all traders do. So we have a 10% limit of our funds at all stages. So let's take the second stage. We give, the client has $2,000 of their funds. We give them an account of $20,000. Immediately, we have a stop loss at 10% of the $20,000. If the trader hits that 10% stop loss, they go to a stage called quarantine. And that is a period where we say, hang on a second, take 2 weeks out. We take our funds away from them for 2 weeks, and they can still trade their own funds with their own book. And after a 2-week period where they've had time to regroup, they then get another opportunity at the program. So there are 3 attempts. On the third attempt, they have to start from the beginning stage of the program. You do go down a level after the quarantine, but once you reach the pro stage, you don't go back down a level. But until then, you will go down levels. You get that 3 attempts of the program. So we try and manage it in that sense, because otherwise, as you say, traders can lose half their account in a day.
Yeah,
they can
it's up and just be like, YOLO, gonna dump it all into a penny stock that I don't know anything about. And
so that is exactly why we have those risk management tools in place. We say make 5% per stage or lose 10% per stage. It's in the trader's favor in 2-to-1 in that sense.
Yeah, I was just curious about that, Greg, because the whole time in my head, I was like, if somebody put in this amount of money and they're trading $1 million on your end, and they start making some bad trades, and you could lose a lot of money really fast on the back end. So it's good to see that you guys have protections to minimize loss, but at the same time, if you have multiple users that are doing well, and it also shows that you're making sure that the people that go into this program are serious, right? They're serious about trading. They're serious about paying attention to what they do and following all of the key information that they need to make sure that they're making these good decisions. So yeah, I think that's great. Now, what would you say about the market's been fluctuating quite a bit with everything that's going on, especially the real estate market has affected the stock market a little bit too, right? So with all of that craziness going on, how can somebody adapt to whatever the latest trends are to maximize what the returns could possibly be?
The latest trends are different across the board. What's been
Sure.
massive in the market recently. I say recently, it's probably the last couple of years, is the use of EAs. We've seen very big push in that direction. We've seen firms selling EAs, which of course does bring some danger to them. We've seen copy trading, which has been quite big. A lot of people proposing copying other traders, copying successful traders with their track record, which has certainly added a big change in the market.
Funny that you bring that up. I keep seeing ads all over social media now they have this app that tracks all of the US politicians, like their trades and everything, tracks all their trading activity, and it alerts you to make those same trades at the same time, which is crazy. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening right now, a lot of moving pieces, and a lot of folks getting AI involved. What do you think about that too? Like with the use of AI when it comes to trading?
Fascinating. And
Yeah.
the way it's moving is very quick. But I sort of bring it back to the same thing. When I started in 2007, we had the auto spreaders, we had the black box systems in the very early forms. So it's obviously grown and grown. But at the same time, these black boxes still need to be programmed by humans. So it's still a big benefit, takes out the emotion out of it. One of the biggest problems we have is we get emotional, we start losing our cool, we start placing bad trades, we want to take profit too quickly because we're worried we might lose our profit when we're in a winning trade. So the black box systems certainly takes that out of it, which is a big benefit. But ultimately, it's still programmed. The structure behind it, how it places trades, is still programmed by humans. So people must move away from it's invincible. I have to have a black box. I have to have the best, latest technology. AI certainly is allowing people to automate their strategies, which is certainly a big help. Of course, from execution for speed, it's much quicker than the human can hit market. So it is definitely changing the market, but it's not taking over in one fell swoop. And that is, markets are going in that direction. We are slowly moving that direction. But ultimately, there's still that inherent human element to it, which we're not going to be taking out of.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think the human element is key. I have a business right now too, where there's a lot of AI that affects it in today's market. We do podcast editing and like we do audio, video, social media, all that good stuff. And there's so many AI products out there that do a lot of things that we do, but we add that human touch at the same time. And it makes a big difference on the back end with the product that you get. While AI is fantastic for speed and efficiency, a lot of times you need that human touch to make sure that you're hitting all of the wickets that you need to hit, right? Because there's only so many things that a machine's going to think about doing versus what you might think about in your brain. And AI doesn't have that gut feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Your thoughts were on that?
It's a great advancement in technology, but I still very much believe you need that personal touch.
Okay. So I know at the top tier package, you said that people would get 90% of the profits from that profit share. So Axi Select takes 10% and then they would keep 90% of those trading profits. What does it look like at the lower tiers? Is it the same or is that only at the max tier?
So the first stage is we give access to the trading room and to the dashboard.
We want to see where you're at.
So that's where we say place 20 trades to get a score so we can see what your score is. And then you need to spend a certain amount of time. It's a structured program. We're not pretending trades are easy. We're not saying trade for 2 weeks, get $1 million of our funds. Absolutely no chance. You should not be managing that amount of money. So you do need to go through placing a certain amount of trades, going through a certain period of months. It is a process. So that's why when going back to earlier, where you said, what if people throw the Hail Marys with a big amount of our funds? Naturally, if they've got a big amount of our funds, they've earned it. They don't want to just throw it away. And we want the right people who want to manage trade money correctly, who get access to the larger funds and who want to trade in the correct manner. It is designed in that sense. So it starts without any profit share at the first stage. Then there's 40%, 50%, 70%, and so it goes on to 90% at the final stage.
Okay, no, that's great. So a tiered system and people have to work their way up through the ranks and prove themselves, which is fantastic because that was my biggest concern was like, where do you start at? How do you know somebody when they first come in isn't going to start to even just that little bit of capital that they get from you guys that they're just going to blow it. So you say when you go in, you've got your dashboard, right? It gives you all of your stats. How does that break down like your trading history, profit loss, all of that?
So it shows you all your trades that you've placed in your account and with our fund. So you can see the difference, what was copied, the trades, the profit, the losses there. Shows you your average wins, your biggest wins, your biggest losers. It's got your main ratios, such as your Sharpe ratios, your probabilities. It shows your progression on the program, your month-by-month profit and loss, and your charts on that, where you're at, what percentage you've earned. It's also got a leaderboard, so you can see where other traders are on the program. You can see what their scores are, what funding they have.
Competitive.
It works both ways. There is
Yeah.
that downside as you're on your own journey. You don't want to compete, but it's good for traders
That's
to
fair.
see what other traders are doing at the same time and ultimately what is possible. But also you can see what the traders are doing, and then you can interact with them in the trading room, what sort of level everyone is at. And it's there to
Right.
create competition. We don't want it to be used in the wrong manner to get you to trade bigger size because you want to reach those higher levels.
You want to make sure you're getting responsible users. Yes, I said competition, but at the same time, I think it's healthy competition, right? It's kind of motivating to see what other people are doing. For me, I like to surround myself with people that are much more successful than me, because you are the average of the people that you surround yourself with. So if I could be the average of the top 5 most wealthy people that I hang out with, that means I'm in the middle. Like I'm number 3 in there. I'm good with that. When somebody signs up for Axi Select, do they have access to the trading room right away to be able to interact with the community, or is that like at the next level? Do they have to prove themselves first?
Yeah. So once you sign up, there are 2 requirements that you need to get to the first level to get access to the dashboard and the dashboard in the trading room. Is you need to deposit $500 into your own trading account, and you need to achieve an edge score of 50. So you got to place 20 trades. And if your score is above 50 and $500, you'll get moved automatically to the first stage of the program where the dashboard and the trading room will open up. You'll start your journey. So you need to place 20 closed trades for us to give you a score, and that score will ultimately keep changing as you trade.
Is there any timelines to that? Like for how quick you have to make those 20 trades?
So there's a minimum timeline. You have to place a certain amount of trades, but there's no maximum. We don't want to put time pressure on you. Trading's a marathon. You have no trading
need to pace yourself.
restrictions. If we want to see proof that you haven't placed 5 good trades, we want to see proof that you actually can consistently prove yourself for the score, the profits that you earn. There's no restrictive nature going to affect your performance.
Okay.
Or force you to place bigger trades.
That's good stuff. Very interesting with this program. I've never heard of anything like this before. So definitely a first on the podcast. We've had plenty of traders on the podcast, and I'm pretty sure that they might come back and listen to this episode and like, I want to do this. So yeah. And actually I'd like to get to that portion, but first I want to transition this into the final round. It's where I'm going to ask you the same 4 questions I ask everybody that comes on the show. Gives us a good idea of how you are under a little bit of pressure, just being asked questions on the spot. So if you're ready to go, we'll get that party started. All right, Greg, what's the biggest mistake you've ever made when it comes to your finances or your business life?
So maybe not my biggest mistake, but probably the most important mistake I made, the one that sort of shaped my career. I said earlier on when I was 24, I moved to London, and I was not only a prop trader, but I was also market making. And it was in my first week there, the company had a company trip to Portugal. I basically was looking after all of the market making books whilst the company and a few of us in the office, everyone was out in Portugal. My boss says what he was market making was a product called Ionia. It hardly got any action. It basically was just a machine that we put on doing a service. I listened to him, and ultimately I was looking after that. And so I turned it on in the morning, being the only person in the office. And I saw it got hit. I'm thinking, that doesn't make sense. He used to get hit maybe once every 3 days. Well, I think I saw him get hit twice. He also reiterated this hardly gets any action, so don't really worry about it. Turn it on and leave it. And put it back on. And I got hit again an hour later. I was thinking, hang on a second. This is very strange being hit twice in such a short amount of time. I put it on a 3rd time, and we got absolutely carried out. I just saw this thing. I've seen these big red numbers, and I think, hang on a second. This is not good. I quickly hedged out, and we're down over 100 grand, which is obviously quite big at that point in time. And I'm thinking, what do I do? There's an emergency number to call. I've obviously not taken the instructions down correctly. My job could be on the line here. So what I did was I tentatively picked up the phone and called the emergency line and wait and see till Monday. And I just remember coming to the office on Monday, not knowing you had a job. My job was spared. I got a hell of a talking to. But ultimately, what I learned from that, when I placed trades in the future, I was so careful. Hardy to never fat-fingered. I always made sure my stop losses were placed in time. It just, the attention to detail that taught me in terms of trading, that you can't just shoot from the hips. You've got to, because I obviously didn't listen. There was one component I didn't change. Out of the 6 things I had to do. And that attention to detail has stuck with me. I can still hear my bosses at the time's voice in my head shouting at me, knowing that I messed up. And that mistake is pivotal to how I took my career from there. So I often reference it.
Definitely sounds like it. Greg, the way you talk about that story and attention to detail just being so key, right? Because
so key.
You could fat finger something, make one little mistake, and it snowballs into something even worse. So I really appreciate your being transparent and open and honest about something like that. I'm glad you got to keep your job too. Because I would probably be questioning that myself too.
And I've just been transferred in a new country, been given extra responsibility, and I've taken me a week or 2 to blow it up.
Welcome to Australia.
I was good in Cape Town, but it generally has still stuck with me. And that was 2008.
Oh, that was an interesting time. Greg, this next question kind of ties into that last one. And it's, what's something that you've learned that you wish you knew when you first got started?
How trading works, but most importantly, the trading psychology, the risk management side. When you start trading, you think, what's a good trader? I know when to buy and when to sell. You assume that's what makes a good trader. But the truth of it is, that is such a small component of trading. A good trader is a good money manager, is a good risk manager. If you can't manage risk, you're not going to make it in trading. It is the one part of trading that takes people years to understand. You go and you blow account after an account till you learn trading psychology, the risk management. You start to apply it loosely. You still blow up accounts. This is the general life cycle of traders. And then you really understand the importance of it. And then you start to get your groove and you start to realize that trading is based on probabilities. You need to know that your risk is covered at all times. Otherwise, a bad period will wipe you out despite you being good for 9 months of the year.
To know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
But no one has a crystal ball. And this is what I'm trying to get at. Nobody, if you look at all this analysis, whether it's technical analysis, whether it's fundamental analysis, no one knows where the market is going. What we have is an ability, whatever your edge is in the market, to know what happens more often than not. What's going to happen on a bigger likelihood? So I look to take setups which I believe will work either more often than they won't work, or it's like flipping a coin. If I say to you, let's flip a coin 10 times. And if you win, I'll pay you $20. If I win, you pay me $100. I'm going to make money more often than not. But more importantly, the more times we flip the coin, the more likely I am to make money. So some of the best traders in the world, they shoot at 40%, even 50%. But when they win big, when they lose, they take small losses. Whereas when we learn, we end up taking smaller wins and bigger losses. And that's the mindset, the structure that has to be the other way around if you want to succeed. For me, delving into that world and realizing that you can't be a successful trader without managing risk was a big eye-opener. And the quicker traders can realize that, the years they can save on their journey. So it's very important to understand that part of what trading really is.
Yeah, those are like the most important lessons learned, right? You're going to pay for it either way. You're either going to pay for a class and learn about it, or a coach or a mentor, or you're going to pay through your losses and you're going to learn some tough lessons.
And that's what happened to me in 2011 as I became part of a trade room, a community. I started to learn this. I started to find a part of trade that resonated with me. And I started to spend more and more time, and I won't say master it. You can never master it, but learn it to a very high level and to be able to apply it. If I found that in 2008, I would have saved myself 3 years on my journey. And that's the important part, is sometimes you need to learn the lessons yourself, but if I could go back, I could have saved years if I found this. And I went down that route beforehand.
I can tell you, everyone that I talk to always says, man, if I can go back and just change one little decision, and it is what it is. But those lessons learned got you to where you are today. I think that's important so that you can actually look back and say, if I would have made this change, I would have had A, B, C, or D. But it's important that you learn this, and it's important that you now know what to do and what not to do. And with that being said, speaking of things to do, this is going to tie into the next question as well. And that is, any tips or tricks that you would recommend to someone that is just getting started today?
trading's a marathon, not a sprint. The biggest problem we have is we see people driving Ferrari, think, I can't get there trading $500. The problem is that people think they need to be millionaires tomorrow. They're undercapitalized, they use too much leverage, they start trading too big size, and you keep going back to square one. If you want to make it, it becomes pointless trading such small size again. And so you actually go through years of blowing up accounts and going back to square one and actually digging a hole for yourself. Where if you realize that this is a game that it's a long-term game, you need to manage your risk so that you don't blow up accounts. You look after your funds in a small way. You build your portfolio slowly. The power of compounding is incredible. And as you build your base slowly, as you push that out, you see the massive difference, which is what I would encourage everyone to do. Now, I know it's easier said than done. I understand the appeal, especially when you have access to the leverage, you have access to the ability to trade bigger. It's an easier thing said than done, but that is certainly something I'd recommend.
Yeah, for sure. It is always easier said than done, just like it's always easier to put something on paper versus what you actually do. I think those are all very great points, great tips for somebody that's just starting out. So the final question I have for you, Greg, in the final round, and this is going to be different than all the rest, but this is an opinion-based question. Do you have a favorite business or investing related book that you like, or podcast that you listen to, or both?
So I guess with the theme of the interview, I would say Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. Brilliant book from a psychology perspective. The first time, there's actually an audio book that's out there. And I remember listening to that for the first time, and my heart just sunk every time he speaks about the things that you do wrong. And I was like, yep, that's me. That's still me, still making that error. It actually hurt. The first time I listened at the beginning, it actually was painful to realizing the errors that I was making. So that is just a brilliant book from a psychology side. And when I learned Elliott wave theory, for me, it was Principles of Elliott wave theory by Pratchett and Frost. That was just a book that made me see things in a different light from a trading perspective. It started my journey from the way I look at market from an analysis perspective.
All right. Awesome. I appreciate that, Greg. And it's good to get great recommendations like that. Definitely Trading in the Zone is one I'm going to add to my list to check out. And if that's talking about the psychology of trading, I think that's great, because a lot of people, the same way that I look at money, you need to have a relationship with money. And yes, it's a tool. It's something that you use, but you need to be smart and healthy about it. You want to have a healthy relationship with it. Same thing with your trading habits, right? You want to make sure you're making smart and healthy, conscious decisions, not just throwing those Hail Marys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, awesome. So, Greg, that is it for the final round. I do have one more question I want to ask you that is the most important question I'm going to ask you throughout this entire interview, because there are folks that are probably listening right now, especially our listeners that are traders, that are saying, hey, this Axi Select sounds really interesting. Where can people find more information about you and Axi Select? Can you share a website or social media pages, anything like that?
Yeah, so about me, again, I'm very hands-on with the process. I'm more than happy for people to message me. LinkedIn's the best place to find me, Greg Rubin. I'm not going to give my email address. Otherwise, if you want to know more about Axi Select, axi.com, or Google Axi Select, it will appear on the website. There's a lot more information about it there. Also social media. But yeah, more than happy personally to answer questions on LinkedIn as well.
Okay, great. We'll make sure we have those links in the show notes for everybody. The only thing I ask is, if you're driving right now, wait until you're not driving to copy and paste or click away. So, Greg, before we close this off, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
Oh, I think the big theme of today was the risk management side. I think that was a big theme that sort of picked up on how important that is to markets. But we do try to improve the process to give traders the edge, to give traders an ability to have an equal playing field and to assist them in their journeys. So
yeah,
good luck.
Equal playing field to the big boys and gals. Definitely, Greg, really appreciate you coming on and sharing so much value with us today. Getting to learn about Axi Select. That was super interesting for me. I think it's really awesome. I'm really glad to see that you have really good processes in place. Really awesome having you on and having this conversation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. I enjoyed that. Thank you.
Would be remiss if I didn't thank all of our listeners and let you all know that I'm very appreciative of you joining me and our special guest, Greg Rubin, today on the Average Joe Finances podcast. If you liked today's episode, leave us a 5-star review and tell us what you liked specifically about our conversation with Greg. Aloha from Hawaii, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you for making it to the end of this episode. Greatly appreciate you being here with me today on the Average Joe Finances podcast. If you haven't done so yet, make this the episode that you go leave us a 5-star rating or subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Average Joe Finances podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Have an outstanding day.